you? Welcome to the Etiquette and Protocol channel. I'm Juliana Santiago, and in this video, we're going to talk a little about how to be an elegant couple. Here on the Etiquette and Protocol channel, you've seen several videos, including some where I talk about elegance. And if you follow the channel faithfully, I hope you do, you've already seen that we've talked a little more about what it really means to be elegant. And being elegant has nothing to do with wearing designer clothes, jewelry, expensive outfits. It has nothing to do with what you look like on the outside. But rather, it's about everything that makes you who you are, and especially what you have inside you. How do you behave in different situations? That's why today we're going to talk a little more about how you can have a relationship and be seen and interpreted as an elegant couple. So we're going to talk a little about how to create that perception. In fact, the practices I'm going to share with you here aren't just for impressing others, but they'll definitely help you have a much more positive relationship with your loved one. The first point is inevitable. In fact, this has to do with showing affection in public. You can definitely hold your partner's hand, even give a kiss, but we need to understand the limit, right? When this process becomes a bit too much, it's not appropriate. Sometimes we're in a public place, there are other people around, and nobody needs to know that you're in love or how intensely you feel it. The ideal thing is for you to know how to behave in any situation. That's what an elegant person does, and certainly an elegant couple will be able to handle any situation. For example, if you go to a food court at the mall, we've even talked about this here on the channel, kissing in the middle of the food court with everyone watching, there's just no need for that. There are appropriate places for you to do that. So yes, you can show affection by holding hands, even with a kiss. But if you want something more intimate, I suggest you look for a more appropriate place. Because especially when we're with other people and we're there as a couple, we're trying to socialize, right? So, for example, if you go to a restaurant with a group of friends, you're thinking about making connections with those people, exchanging ideas, talking with other people. Because if you wanted to have a moment for just the two of you, you would be at home with the person you love, or somewhere else that's more suitable for a romantic moment, right? So if you decided to be there and socialize with other people, there's no need to overdo it with the making out. It's really better to hold back and choose the right place and time for that. Another thing we need to pay attention to is how the couple interacts with each other, and also when there are other people around. It's not a good idea for you to argue in public. So many times, if your partner did something you didn't like or made a comment you disapproved of, don't confront them in front of everyone and start arguing. No. Wait until you get home, when you have a moment alone, to say that you didn't approve of what happened, that it wasn't cool, that you felt offended. So choose the most appropriate place for that. Avoid creating a scene. Why does this happen? Many times we're around other people and then we start arguing with our partner. And no, it's not just about being seen as an elegant couple, but rather about what the two of you as a couple can bring to that environment. The atmosphere can become tense. Sometimes it can get too heavy. People might lose their appetite. It can really disrupt the situation in a negative way. You can really ruin the vibe, the energy of the place. So yes, whenever you have a comment or a point your partner made that you didn't approve of, save it to talk about in private so you don't create a situation in front of everyone. Still talking about relationships, your relationship with other people when your partner isn't around is also very important. There's nothing more inappropriate than a partner who speaks badly about the other partner or even exposes the couple's private matters. So, if your husband is a more reserved person, or if it's your wife and she doesn't like talking about private matters in public with friends, because I know some people aren't offended by that, and that's okay. Because each couple knows about their own practices, right? We always have our own ways of getting along that are established between the couple. But exposing the person in a negative way, speaking badly about them, pointing out their flaws, is something I don't recommend you do. Doing this with other people, especially when your partner isn't around you, that's very inconsiderate. If you're unhappy with something, talk to that person in a more private way. And talking about the intimate details you share, especially when it comes to sexual matters, I also recommend that you choose the right environment to do this, because there's nothing more inappropriate than people who keep sharing their intimacies and leaving their partner in a completely uncomfortable situation. So pay attention to this when you're in a social setting and your partner isn't around. How do you act? A very common question is whether only the man can place the order at the restaurant, right? Only the man can call the waiter, so the waiter can take the orders and the woman can't call him. Well, guys, with women's advancement and social norms continuing to evolve, this practice is no longer applied. If you feel more comfortable placing the order yourself, there's no problem at all. But if you also want your husband or your partner to do it for you, that's up to the couple. There are no restrictions, and the woman can feel completely comfortable to, yes, call the waiter over to take your order. Another etiquette question you always ask me about is where the couple should sit in a restaurant. It can be with many people or just the two of them. The answer is that ideally you should sit facing each other, because to maintain intimacy and a strong connection, you have other settings to do that. And especially when there are other people in the group who will be at the same table as you, the important thing is to make new connections. And it turns out that the people sitting next to you are often the ones you talk to the most, so you can sit across from each other. Of course, if you're in a relationship that just started and your partner doesn't know anyone who's going to share that table and feels more comfortable sitting next to you, that's totally fine. But if you're already in a longer relationship, maybe you've been married for a few years, the important thing about being at a table with other people is the connection. In a one-on-one setting, I also recommend that you sit across from each other. Because the environment, for example, when you go to a restaurant is for talking, it's for being able to share experiences. And this makes you maintain better eye contact, which even creates something very positive when it comes to romance, because there's that exchange of looks. And you can also have a more effective conversation. As I already mentioned throughout the video, a restaurant is not the place where you're going to be kissing and making out. It's not appropriate. Ideally, you should do that somewhere else. And for those who are unsure if there's a specific place, especially when you're with someone, is there a place where the woman should sit and where the man should sit? Well, I'm going to share a protocol tip that you'll never forget. Usually the person of greatest importance there, or the person you want to highlight at that moment. For example, between a man and a woman, it could be the woman if you want to give her precedence. Ideally, this person should sit facing the dining room with a view of the room. So ideally, she should be in the best seat. The best seat at the table is always the one with a view of the restaurant dining room. So the person of honor at that moment should always sit in that spot. And you can actually use this rule for other types of situations in your life in general. And now you must be asking me how you can become even more elegant. Well, I'm going to leave a video here on the side, the secrets of elegance, which can be applied to anyone regardless of gender. So go there, click watch this video, because I'm sure it will make all the difference so you can become the best version of yourself. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much.